Welcome to another week in advance. How you doing today, Christopher?
I'm doing fabulous, and we're getting warmer and warmer as we progress towards summer here in the Midwest. And I guess you guys are getting into the chaos season with the Santa Anas, right?
The Santa Ana's, yeah, nice and hot. We got fires happening. 90 degree on the beach, 95 inland, so it's nice and toasty here.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's interesting how the rest of the country was feeling, I think, the aftershocks of that solar eclipse and the renewing of the moon in Taurus, because we had a number of tornado outbreaks across the south and kind of radical weather, I think, that frequently happens right after either a full moon or a new moon event when you have that factoring in that eclipse energy. So the moon definitely does influence our weather patterns, and I think we're really seeing that right now.
Yeah, there's been some intense weather patterns. I saw those tornadoes. They were pretty intense, and I think that's also part of the cross that built up a lot of energy, and I think it takes Earth a little bit to adjust, and then it kind of released at that big eclipse point. And it's intense everywhere as far as the releasing, and I think that there's this nice kind of freedom energy coming this week. I think we've gone through the eclipses, the cardinal cross is starting to break apart, and we're going to have Mercury and Venus change signs this week, which are very personal planets. They're close to the sun. They deal with our minds. They deal with our value systems, our feel-good energies. So we're going to have a lot shifting, and I think that there's like there's an opening happening right now. And you had mentioned before we got on the show, Jupiter is really starting to move fast, and that brings a lot of expansion, things to move forward, the journey really starts to kind of begin at this point, I'd say.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things that Jupiter is currently doing, it's at about 15 degrees of Cancer, and it's starting to feed a lot of expansive energy into Chiron and Pisces. And then, of course, we've got Saturn and Scorpio. So we've got a grand trine building here, and we'll be carrying it throughout this next week, but especially over the weekend, because we'll have the moon flipping out of Gemini late Friday and advancing into Cancer. And of course, when you get Cancer and Jupiter, I mean the moon and Jupiter both in Cancer, it does bring a lot of feelings to the surface. And so with that grand trine, we're going to have Scorpio in the mix. We're going to have Pisces in the mix. So it's going to be an interesting weekend. I think a lot of people are going to be feeling things more than they have for quite a while. It's going to be a very touchy weekend as far as feelings go. And with Saturn in that retrograde position, it's kind of pulling its energy back. So I think we'll see the Jupiter, Moon, Neptune, Chiron energy really, expand over the weekend for people.
Yeah, there's a lot of expansion in our inner world going, which is beautiful. I mean, this whole Jupiter Chiron thing is, the feelings are allowing us to heal. I think by experiencing feeling, by not being afraid to adventure in feelings maybe you haven't gone down before. That's what this is about. But how funny that this weekend, while the moon comes into Cancer wanting to feel really good, and we've got Venus that comes into Aries there right on Friday, and this is a very big, powerful transit because Venus is not in the best position in Aries. It kind of can become a little selfish, right? It comes into wanting things in our own direction in relationships and our value systems. But Venus also does very well kind of in Aries because it adds some fire to the feel-good energy and our needs, our wants, our desires, and starts to really see what we need in our life, what we can create. So it creates a positive energy, but the downfall of it is it's going to start to oppose all this Libra energy, which is about harmony and relationships. And now we're going to have Mars, Venus start in their big oppositions, the masculine and the feminine opposing each other, where the feminine comes into this really intense masculine side, and the masculine is off in kind of a more, it is Libra is a masculine sign, but a lot of planets are moving into masculine energy. Plus, we've got the sun in Taurus, is a very earth sign. it's almost like the energy's starting to get kind of strong now, not so feminine, a lot more masculine now. And there's a lot of things I think going to really surge forward in our lives now. Venus into Aries always kind of like seeds these new things, these new starts, these really fresh new ideas to the surface, maybe even new partnerships rushing in. Now we've got the moon in Cancer this weekend over Jupiter. Wow, these new rushes of feelings that overcome. So this could be a weekend of some really exciting energy, especially coming off that tension of the cross that we just had.
Exactly, and the thing that's kind of interesting as we're looking at this activity is that Venus will be advancing. Venus will actually be getting developing a sense of substance in Aries as we move into next week. It'll be 3 degrees on Monday into Aries, which is getting solidified in that sign. And at the same time, Mars is moving backwards in Libra, withdrawing, pulling inward. So what we're going to see happening, I think, is that a lot of situations where there was that dominant masculine energy, we're going to see the masculine acquiesce now and say, okay, dear, here, let me open the door for you. So, and even internally, I think individuals are going to be feeling this within themselves. Their masculine energy flow is going to be pulling back a little bit and giving that opening for the feminine, the creative, the visionary, the musical, the artistic. That is going to be coming to the surface. And I think people who are in the arts are really going to feel a surge forward. They're going to want to get out their paintbrushes. They're going to want to write a new symphony. I mean, it's going to be a very creative week here as we see this polarity here with this very magical dance going on.
It is a weird polarity of masculine and feminine energies. There's the one half where, Uranus and Venus are going to want this Aries kind of dominant kind of, we need to free ourselves in what we want. That's one thing about Uranus and Aries is it's like, I got to do this, and I need the space, I need the energy, and I need this. And Venus coming in there adds that richness to needing a lot of things in our life, a lot of new, fresh starts. But it's opposing all this energy with Mars still retrograde, which I used an example in my horoscopes this week is Mars in Libra can be a little difficult because it wants to go and take action, but the rules or the laws or the fairness or the justice take place. You might be able to do it, but that doesn't mean you necessarily can. If there's some law that you can break, that's why Mars can kind of get a little difficult to take the action, especially retrograde in Libra, because there are laws, there are things to weigh out there. It's not so simple. You just can't bulldoze the house down. There's a contract that the city has for this ordinance and the neighbors, and you just can't bulldoze it. So in our lives, even though yes, I think we're facing masculine energy intensely and how it's used and where it's going and what the things we want, it's not like we can get them that easy. And I think the feminine energy that you described is coming in to teach us to allow things to happen, to allow time to take place, and to accept the way that things are. It's interesting to see that the Sun is going to trine Pluto coming into this weekend, which is a real clear signal that there's a lot of kind of fresh energy coming in. The Sun on Pluto and Earth sign kind of clears the playing field, kind of levels the decks, kind of smooths the sand of the volleyball court, I would like to say. So it kind of like really brings this nice new fresh step for kitty litter. I'm using jokes now. But it does. It freshens the table here. It allows for this foundation to really be laid, for us to really start to step on the ground. And even though our masculine energy might want all these things, I think that there's going to be a lot of things to grasp, and it's our feminine energy that's going to learn to take our time to plan things out and to really make sure they're things we really want too.
Oh, exactly. And then as we continue to advance in the week, we're going to see good old Mercury midweek return to its most comfortable zone in the zodiac. We'll see Mercury landing in Gemini. And I think that's when we're going to really see that communication wave hit. I think a lot of people have been waiting for the opportune moment. They've been waiting for the right position, the right sequence on the chessboard. And so this week is going to be a big breakthrough week for people who have been withholding communication. So you may notice a lot of chatter around you. You may have an impulse to go in to the office and say, hey, damn it, I'm working my butt off here. I want to raise. I think people are going to gain their voice this coming week. And that's going to be an interesting thing to add to this mix because, again, we've got, you know, that masculine feminine polarity going on, and we've got the nodal activity in Aries and Libra. So a lot of action going on about speaking your truth, making demands on the people who are surrounding you and who you cohabitate with in the world. So I would say this coming week, don't be surprised if you are a little bit shocked by revelations coming from people that you have been close to, but they've been somewhat quiet, somewhat offline for a while. This week is going to be a big communication week.
I agree, especially because it finishes in Taurus, which really wants to identify with so much of the things we want and need. Then it comes into Gemini, like you said, where it's like, out with it. I gotta let it all. I gotta. This is what I want. This is what I need. This is what's gonna make it all happen. And what's really interesting is Monday to me. The Sun comes to that 15-degree spot in Taurus. It's gonna sextile to Jupiter, sextile to Chiron. The Moon's gonna be in Leo, squaring this. Talk about a powerful Monday. This might be a Monday that you actually really enjoy finally being at work again. You really enjoy life again. You really kind of get your energy back. Like, I think this week starts off, when we come back from this great weekend, it almost gets even better on Monday. It's like the Sun just loves to be in a sextile to Jupiter in Taurus. It loves to be with Chiron because it's almost like there's a lot of things from the past that we're willing to let go of now, that we're healing our wounds, we're licking our wounds, we're in a happier place. You know, the Band-Aids are working, the Neosporin's hitting us good, you know, we're starting to get our swagger back in Taurus, and then boom, the Moon in Leo, believe it or not, does very well with the Sun in Taurus. When you mix Leo and Taurus together, even though they square, it's the best feel-good energy you can ask for. And this could really seed a week of really positive new feelings. And with Venus, that will be in Aries, it's going to start, you know, making its opposition to Mars. It's going to start to come into a trine with the Moon in Leo. So there is a lot of positive energy that comes into this week. It almost might feel like, holy cow, wow, I really believe in astrology, because, you know, if you really follow it, you could see how the shades are so different. This shade that comes in this week is extremely different than the shades we've been going through.
Exactly, and one of the things that we'll be watching build as the week progresses is that the Sun is going to be advancing to that point where it's going to start feeding energy into Saturn, sitting on the other side of the chart. So Thursday and Friday, and then the following week, which we'll be talking about in more depth on next Friday, but we're going to start sensing that activity of the Sun opposing Saturn. And a lot of times when we get oppositions, when you get those kinds of polarities, instead of creating an antithesis of reciprocity, we end up creating a synthesis of the two energies. And we arrive at that point where we recognize that there's only one coin here, but it's got the two sides. It's got the Taurus side and it's got the Scorpio side. So I think that a lot of our duality issues are going to start getting attention, and we're going to start working on resolution, simply because the Sun is such a brilliant energizer, and it feeds so much growth and so much warmth and so much power into whatever it's aspecting. So for a brief period here, for a few days, we're going to see that potential arise where we can actually see both sides of an issue, and we can bring those sides together and create union and harmony and inner unity.
I think it's really important that you brought that up, because we have some serious oppositions brewing. That Sun and Saturn, like you described, and Venus and Mars. And the Sun and Saturn are extremely different. They're bipolar, you know. The Saturn's cold and the Sun is hot. And I think we need to find a way for us to make some nice lukewarm water here. Like when I go to the shower every morning, you know, I turn it on extreme hot, but then I start to bring in the cold to make it exactly the way I want to. And I think that's where we're at in our lives, that we might want all these things, but you know, you might need to bring some plans, some colder energy that's not so hot, some seriousness, some time to allow things to happen. Then on top of it, you know, Mars and Venus, you know, this is the man running and trying to catch the boy. This is the boy trying to run and catch the girl. You know, it's like we got to bring both sides of the fence. Like, you might want a lot of things, but you might need to take some new actions and partnerships to get them. You might need to play by some sort of law or rule, and you must say you can instead of you can't. And I think this is going to be kind of the story at the tail end of the week, that all this good energy kind of brings us to, okay, let's do things right. Let's bring that unity to all four corners of our life, whether they're, you know, pulling us at all these angles, because it's almost like the universe brings us into this big cross and these big eclipses and all this karma, and now it's finally bringing us to a way where we need to get all these energies to get along, to come together, like you brought up, with all that unity.
Exactly. One of the other things I've been noticing with myself and some of the people I've been talking to, and it's definitely in sync with that activity of Mars and Uranus as they went through that direct opposition, and then Mars now is starting to slow down and getting ready to turn around, and once it starts to go direct in a few weeks here, we'll see that same interaction. And I know that with myself, I've had a few nights here where I had difficulty sleeping. And I think a lot of people are noticing waking up multiple times during the night, or having erratic sleep patterns, having dreams, because your sleep habit has been interrupted. And so we really want to pay attention to how personally things are happening within us that are, let's say, a little bit off center or a little bit out of sync, and then we go to the activity of the chart, and it becomes very clear what these two different energies are that are interacting. And Mars is a stimulant, Uranus is a stimulant. So you've got a lot of intense action here, and if you have a heavy preponderance of fire or air in your chart, you're going to be very vulnerable. You're going to be very much sensitive to the activity of that fire-air interaction going on between Mars and Uranus.
It's a lot, and then you add Venus to the mix, and it adds, well, I was going to say, because I always kind of give Venus and Aries like that kind of like really spicy, hot energy, kind of like the real fast, like, you know, when you walk in a room or in Vegas and the flashy light pops up, you know, it adds that Vegas light energy to it all. So already we're seduced into these huge stimulants, and then you add just like the beautiful blonde on top, and it's like, oh gosh, you know, it's like, whoa. And that's of course coming from a man point of view, but you know, it's like, whoa, the Venus adds to this fire these like really beautiful little fireworks, especially as Venus is coming closer to Uranus. Woo, some really sparky stuff's going to come in the following week, but I think it gets triggered really quick at the end of this week. I mean, even though the energy's different, I still think there's a lot going on, and I think this stuff this week could maybe start to affect your life a little bit more personally in your feelings and in things starting to manifest more, especially because the moon's going to be in Virgo late week and be part of a grand trine with the Sun and Pluto, and it's going to be in a really positive spot. And I think that this is definitely going to be a week of a lot of things to bring together, a lot of things to be excited about.
Yes, absolutely. As you were speaking there and talking about Vegas, my mind was drifting over to Spain, and I was getting flamenco in the background, and you know, this activity of the Mars, Uranus, Venus combination in my mind. If you really want to see how this is manifest, go onto YouTube and pull up La Habanera from the opera Carmen, because this is the literal stage for that particular passage in that beautiful, beautiful opera written by a Frenchman about a Spanish cigarette roller, and it was performed in Italian. Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting. And I think you're right with that kind of flamenco energy. Like, uh, in almost many ways, the universe is teasing us with some really powerful lessons here of, especially with Saturn and Scorpio, seduction into these passions. And then when you add fuel to the fire, we want them. But there's this Mars in Libra that goes, well, there's a bunch of different little things to weigh out here. There's these things that we just can't jump in the fire yet in many ways. And it
No,
could
and that
become, yeah, it's weird.
well, it's fun because that happens right around your birthday when Jupiter enters Leo and starts to trine Uranus in Aries. That's when we see the shift from "I'm in love with love" to the imagery or the ideology of "I'll die for love." So yeah, we're
Oh,
entering
yeah.
into a real spicy kind of energy field, and I think it's going to carry us all the way through summer into autumn this year.
Yeah, and that's also when Mars comes out of its long, stay in Libra at the end of July. It comes out into Scorpio, its natural home, and squares Jupiter on my birthday, literally. Like, that's what's going on. And it is just, if you want to talk about extreme energy coming in, this summer is going to lift people off. So the stuff that you're looking at now, I think is important to realize, like, put that more feminine energy in, receive a little bit. It doesn't mean you still can't cook, hot dogs by the fire, but you just can't like walk over all the coals and like bring this in your, in your tent. Like, like it's like make sure that you like use it, but you're not like you're not being greedy either. This can kind of start to bring people, the second they get out of the cage, the second they're comfortable not being all stressed anymore, it could really just start hammering down and give me this. Like, I need this. I want that. Especially in Taurus, right? Values, money. I think people are going to start buying things. I'll be honest with you. I'm like about to buy something. Now I'm looking at this like, should I buy it? But, it's like,
Hmm.
you know, that energy is going to come really strong this week. Just let's go. But, there might be some sort of weird energy around that.
Yes. So this week, I guess we could say, is the initiation of a cycle of passion as we continue to advance. And of course, you've got that single teddy bear behind you. So I think that what we need to do is get a companion for your teddy bear, so everybody's feeling the passion.
Yeah, Snuggle can use one. I don't know if you guys can see him back here, and I noticed my camera kind of fell here. Oop. But yeah, he's hanging out. He's from when I was 1 year old, and then we lost him, and then Saturn came back in the same position of when I was 1 year old in Scorpio, and there's my mom on Easter. Hey, do you remember him? I'm like, oh my gosh. So and relationships are going to be. It's so weird on how, because if you follow astrology a long time, sometimes Venus is just doing a Venus thing, but Venus is just like always at the right time in the middle of weird transits. It's been doing some really funky stuff here, and relationships just seem to be a reoccurring theme, especially the North Node and Mars in Libra, and now here we're gonna have Venus on Uranus, and Venus is gonna enter some squares to Pluto, and it's gonna be. I think this could be some really passionate, fiery kind of relationships building up here.
It is, and it's not just limited to people outside of your sphere. I think that the passion is going to be reflected back to you in proportion to the passion that you develop with yourself. So this is a period when you may discover elements within yourself that you were overlooking or ignoring or unwilling to embrace. And I think that that's where it's all going to kick off in this next week and over this next month, is creating a passionate relationship with you and then allowing it to go forward, and you'll find that you're going to find a lot of passion in life, and you're going to observe that the people who are participating with you in your life are enriched and are feeling that passion also. So how about some tarot cards?
I'd love some one feather pull, please.
Okay, well, first thing off, Friday into Saturday. Here we're getting that fertility ritual. You know, this is very appropriate as we're right in the middle of Taurus time and wanting to plant seeds, wanting to enjoy the warmth of the earth and feeling the desire to nurture all of the different aspects of our life and all the different people in our life. So this is going to be a very nurturing weekend. We're going to be starting off with, you know, that very feminine, enriched vibration that'll carry us through. Then, as we hit the midpoint of the weekend, we're going to see the Wheel of Fortune become the principal player.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a great card because it means that you're finally getting over it. You're finally getting out of your funk. The weekend is going to lift your spirits. You're going to want out and go out and dance. You're going to, you know, want to participate. You want to go find a party and hang out with friends and family or whatever. Um, Then, as we move into Monday, look at that. There's the Monday you were talking about where things were just getting better and better. We have the star cards. So when we go into work Monday, when we you know, slide into the work week, you're going to find that new options, new opportunities, optimism is going to be the theme of the day. Midweek, and I associate this especially with that energy of Venus flipping into Aries. We see one of the death cards, the Ten of Swords, and this is when we're really going to realize, again, a significant part of our life is desiccated, dried up like a snake skin. We're going to crawl out of this old part of our personal identity and step up and start to really embrace and enjoy this next phase of our, you know, expansion energy that Jupiter is going to be presenting to us. End of the week, a need to be a little bit diligent. You know, this is a Seven of Swords. If you got a parking ticket during the week, make sure that you don't lose it. Make sure that you pay it, because at the end of the week, we are going to have to really acknowledge that movement of Mercury as it's, you know, advancing into Gemini. There's going to be communication, and make sure that the communication is good communication working in your favor. So we've got a nice enriched week. We've got a big week coming up, and I think the cards are reflecting that in a very big way.
Huge way. I mean, we had three major arcana right at the beginning. Bam, 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 three in a row. The Empress card, too, is amazing. I mean, what a feel-good energy, really coming into some power there. That Wheel of Fortune, you can't get much better than that. And I just feel that all the cards are really saying the beginning of the weekend, enjoy it. The end of the week is great. We're going to get out of some old energy. But, you know, that Seven of Swords, with those big oppositions that start, you got to be on top of it. You know, like you're playing tug of war, and you got to make sure that you keep both sides moving. You just can't be just, you know, lost on one side. You know, you can't be just playing one team either, like, or just looking at things one way, one-sided. You're gonna have to kind of do the work and look at everything. You know, like if you're gonna pay your parking ticket, maybe you should be on top of putting it away instead of just being like, oh yeah, I'll do that later. I'll find, you know, like energy is going to start to make us forced to go, okay, there's two parts of the story here, and I need to pay attention to both parts instead of getting lost in one part, you know?
Exactly. It's always about recognizing that duality exists on every coin that's in our pockets. So we have to resolve those two elements, the positive and negative.
Yeah, and this week I think is a very, I think it shows that the universe loves us, that even though maybe it was a little crazy the last couple weeks internally, that, you know, it follows it with a great week like this, you know?
Yeah, it gets us back to the point where we can appreciate ourselves and appreciate each other. A lot of the rapid growth, the accelerated growth that we've been going through over the last, you know, couple of years, literally, it's finally seeded in. It's finally taking root. So I think we are going to see a more optimistic cycle. I think we're going to see more growth, more positivity, and I think we're going to get clearer vision as to where we want to go and what we want to do. And I know a lot of people want to go to Sedona in July, so when are you going to be posting something new about that?
Yeah, I'm going to be putting up some stuff this next week. So the week, probably when the moon's in Leo. There's so much Leo
Nice.
attached to this event, even when I did the chart and everything. So yeah, so there'll be a lot of stuff there. And what's interesting about the retreat is, I mean, I literally think that we're all getting together for what we just talked about. When Jupiter comes into Leo, Mars gets out of Libra finally, and we kind of like take off. It'll also be when Saturn goes direct that weekend. So, there's so much shifting for that weekend and a big preparation, and everybody kind of getting, it's kind of like put the launch code in the spaceship.
Exactly. Well, and for me, I'll be bringing my two Leos down to Arizona for the event. And you mentioned Saturn. We're a Saturn. It's in Scorpio. Well, I've got two Leos and a Scorpio in my family unit, and we will be there.
Amazing. I know. I'm super excited. There's going to be some more information later this week. So, thank you for an amazing show, Christopher. It was excellent, and yeah, I look forward to speaking with you soon again.
Yes, another week, and we will have even more enlightened dialogue here. So have a great week, David.
You too, and take care.
You too.